The role of fatwas and the diversity of schools of thought regarding them are central to understanding how Islamic law operates in practice. It's a system built on interpretation and scholarly discourse, not a monolithic, centralized authority. Here's a detailed breakdown. What is a fatwa? A fatwa, plural, fatawa, is a non-binding legal opinion or learned interpretation issued by an Islamic legal scholar, known as a mufti, in response to a specific question posed by an individual, group, or court. Key characteristics of a fatwa: non-binding. Unlike the ruling of a judge, qadi, a fatwa is not legally enforceable. It is an opinion, not a verdict. The questioner is free to seek another opinion. Responsive. It is always issued in response to a specific question. A mufti does not typically issue fatwas on topics they have not been asked about. Context-specific. A fatwa takes into account the specific circumstances, time, place, and context of the questioner. A fatwa on a medical issue, for example, may change with advances in science. Evidenced. A valid fatwa must be based on evidence from the primary sources of Islam, the Quran, the Sunnah, traditions of the Prophet, and the principles of scholarly consensus, **, and analogical reasoning, qiyas. The role and purpose of fatwas. Fatwas serve several critical functions in Muslim societies. 1. Guidance for individuals. They help ordinary Muslims navigate daily life in accordance with their faith, answering questions on topics ranging from worship and family law to business and bioethics. 2. Adapting to new realities. This is perhaps their most important modern function. Fatwas are the primary tool for applying eternal Islamic principles to new and unprecedented situations, e.g., in vitro fertilization, cryptocurrency, space travel, and climate change. 3. Clarifying religious doctrine. They help clarify theological and legal ambiguities, combat superstition, and refute extremist interpretations. 4. Informing judges. While not binding, a judge in an Islamic court may consider a fatwa when making a legally enforceable ruling. 5. Educating the public. The process of issuing a fatwa is often educational, as the mufti explains the evidence and reasoning behind the opinion. The different schools of thought on fatwas. The landscape of fatwa issuing is diverse, reflecting the different theological and legal schools within Islam. The differences primarily revolve around who is qualified to issue a fatwa and what methodology they should use. 1. The traditional madhab-based approach. This is the historical and most widespread model, associated with the four major Sunni schools of jurisprudence: Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, and Hanbali. Qualification. A mufti is deeply trained in one of these four schools. Their primary role is to explain the established positions within their own school of thought. Methodology. The fatwa is based on the principles and precedent of that specific school. For example, a Hanafi mufti will typically give a fatwa based on the dominant opinion within the Hanafi school. Role of taqlid, emulation. For the average Muslim, this model encourages taqlid, following the rulings of a recognized school without needing to know the detailed evidence. The fatwa provides this guidance. Modern context. Many official religious bodies in countries like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and India follow this approach. Al-Azhar University in Egypt, for instance, has Maliki and Shafi'i traditions deeply embedded in its teaching. 2. The Salafi, al-Hadith approach. This approach challenges the traditional school-based model. Qualification. A mufti is considered qualified based on their direct knowledge of the Quran and the Hadith, prophetic traditions, often with less emphasis on mastery of a specific school. Methodology: they prioritize the Quran and Sahih Hadith, authentic narrations, above the rulings of the classical schools. If a Hadith is deemed authentic, it can override the opinion of a school. This is a form of rejecting taqlid and engaging directly with the primary sources. Modern context: this is the dominant approach in Saudi Arabia, through its official religious establishment, and among Salafi movements worldwide. It can lead to fatwas that differ significantly from the traditional schools on specific issues. 3. The Maqasid al-Sharia, Objectives of Sharia, approach. A more modern and increasingly influential approach that focuses on the spirit and purpose of the law. Qualification: a mufti is not only an expert in classical texts, but also in the philosophy and higher objectives of Islamic law, maqasid, such as the preservation of faith, life, intellect, lineage, and property. Methodology: the fatwa is derived by considering which ruling best fulfills these higher objectives and serves the public interest, maslahah. It is more flexible and context-driven than the traditional school-based approach. Modern context: this approach is popular among reform-minded scholars and intellectuals who seek to address complex modern issues like human rights, democracy, and finance. It often results in fatwas that are seen as more liberal or adaptable. 4. The Marja'iyya system in Shia Islam. In Twelver Shia Islam, the system is more hierarchical. Qualification: a Marja' al-Taqlid, source of emulation, is a Grand Ayatollah who is the highest-ranking legal authority. Methodology: followers, muqallids, choose a living marja and follow his fatwas on all matters of religious practice. The marja issues fatwas based on independent reasoning, ijtihad, derived from the Quran, Sunnah, with a different collection of hadith, and intellect, aqal. Modern context: this creates a more centralized authority structure. Figures like Ayatollah Sistani in Iraq or Ayatollah Khamenei in Iran have millions of followers who adhere to their specific fatwas. Key challenges and debates in the modern world. 1. The fatwa chaos. The Internet has democratized fatwa issuing, allowing unqualified individuals to issue opinions, leading to confusion and extremism. 2. Credentialing. There is no global body to certify who is a legitimate mufti, leading to a wide variance in quality and authority. 3. Political fatwas. Rulers and governments may exert influence over state-appointed muftis to issue fatwas that support government policy, a practice criticized by many scholars. 4. Cultural conflict. Fatwas can become a battleground between traditionalist and progressive interpretations of Islam, especially on issues related to gender, family, and human rights. In essence, the world of fatwas is a dynamic and sometimes contentious arena where Islamic law is continuously interpreted and applied. The different schools of thought represent different methodologies for balancing textual fidelity with contextual relevance. For a Muslim seeking guidance, the classical advice is to seek a fatwa from a known, trusted, and qualified scholar whose methodology and piety they respect.